community, which works towards creating an ecosystem in the northern province. So for technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And one of the things that we do as part of YAL IT Hub is to run YGC, which we run at two levels. One is the school level, that is more a technology competition. And then we run YGC Open, which is basically to facilitate all kinds of startups and entrepreneurs to come out. So we run this on a mission to support and facilitate and help entrepreneurs as, in the best way possible for us. So if you are to run, if you are planning, I hope you are planning to apply for YGC, and that's the reason you would have joined today. So these are the ideal steps to apply for YGC from our experience. So the first step is to form a team and then look for a problem to solve. So I'll do a little bit of explanation on how you could look for a problem to solve. This is basically based on some Y Combinator material, which I can explain down the line. And then we also strongly suggest before you actually send in your application, also to talk to potential users so that you can verify your hypothesis a bit more, and then you apply for YGC. So these are the ideal steps, and most startups who did this had performed very well and gone on to create their own companies post YGC. So this is the best practice that we have kind of derived, and I thought I'll share that with you on a step-by-step basis, so that you can make maximum utilization of this opportunity that you have with YGC. So when forming a team, so these are some tips and tricks, and we've seen that most investors prefer a team which has more than one co-founder. In certain circumstances, it's fine if it's just only you. You can still apply, but when it comes to investments, usually investors prefer startups with more than one co-founder. Doesn't mean that everybody who's going to be in the team are part of the founding team, but when it comes to the founding team, it will be good to have at least more than one co-founder as part of your team. If that's not going to be possible at this point of time, we've also seen startups who come in with a single founder, and then eventually post YGC, they look for people who can come on board with them. So that's fine. But the best that we've seen is whenever they have had at least another co-founder being part of the team. And then when you're trying to find the team to apply for YGC, please look for people with complementary skills and a little bit of diversity, so that they could bring different perspectives to the table, so that you will have people who can bring different ideas, different skill sets, and different competencies to make things happen. So even when you practically want to run it as a business or a startup eventually, you will need people with different complementary skills. For example, in rare circumstances it would work, but like having just 5 people who develop software might not be the best combination. You might need people who have sometimes the skill to sell, sometimes the skill to lead, and so forth. So there are different skills that you would ideally look for as part of your team, even at YGC, because that would help you to pitch yourself and showcase your product in a much better way. And then this is just a rule for YGC, but like when you're practically doing a startup or a company, you would actually have more people. But like when you are applying for YGC, we have only a maximum of 5-member team. That is just to manage our logistics. We have put that limitation. Outside of it, you can have even a bigger team working on it. But as part of YGC, we limit the number of participants per team to 5. So that's the first instruction on how to form a team. And then I think it's also critical that you understand what is a startup. I'll also explain down the line what is the difference between a startup and a lifestyle business. But the first is to look at what is a startup, because sometimes we think that every other business that's been created out there is a startup, which is not true. Startup is actually a temporary organization. So this is what Steve Blank's kind of definition speaks about. It's a temporary organization. And it's basically a hypothesis that you're working on. So it's an assumption that you're working on. And then with that, you're trying to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. I'll take a very primitive kind of example to explain this. Let's say you want to just start like a restaurant. Usually a restaurant is a lifestyle business if you're just trying to do it a single location restaurant. But you might want to position it as a as a startup, if you have like an innovation and innovative business model, and then if you're trying to see how you can replicate it across in a lot of markets, where you are trying to see how you can scale that business further. For example, instead of just running it as a normal restaurant, if you want to run it out of cloud kitchens and create like a new business model around it, the whole thing changes. And then you start to view the particular business in such way where you're trying to see how can I make this repeatable, how can I make this scalable, and so forth. So that's where the difference comes in. So in a, if you forget this definition, just remember one thing: when you're doing a startup, you're looking for growth, and you're looking for aggressive growth. So in a normal lifestyle business, you're not really pushing for too much of growth. Yes, you look for a growth which might be a smaller growth, but in a startup, you look for an exponential growth. You look for a growth month on month, like a steep growth a month on month, every year, and so forth. So the mindset when you are doing a startup is about how do you grow your business as fast as possible. So why I wanted to highlight startup is when you come to YGC, you can either bring a startup or even a lifestyle business. We accommodate both. In some competitions, you would see the focus is only on startup businesses. But in our case at YGC, we are open to have both startup businesses and lifestyle businesses or small businesses coming in and pitching in here. So it's perfectly fine even if your business is going to be a lifestyle business where your focus is to do a business, make it profitable, and keep running that at a smaller scale, which is fine. But if you want to, if you have a very ambitious plan, what you want to do is you want to build a product, scale it as much as possible, repeat it in other markets, and so forth, then still it's a good place to come and pitch as well. But from an investor perspective, usually the larger investors are interested only on the businesses which would fall under the category of startups. Basically, that means they are more interested in entrepreneurs and business models which have an ambitious mission where it can start, in which it can scale and become big. So that's a difference, and knowing this difference is crucial for you to pitch and connect with the right kind of investors. At YGC, we have investors who might invest on either one of these, and might as well know this so that you connect with the right people when you're participating in YGC, and then try to raise whatever seed investment or pre-seed investment that you want to have for your startup. And so when it comes to a startup idea is a hypothesis. It's an assumption. You make assumptions and you're trying to validate those. So that's what you try to do in a startup. You come up with an assumption thinking that, okay, if I do this, it might work. If I do, or if I come up with a new business model, it might work. And all these are assumptions you make as part of a startup. And then what you do is you try to validate this. You try to validate it during the lifetime of the startup, or at the early stages of the startup. So this part I'm taking from Y Combinator. There's a video out there in the curriculum. If you're interested, you can go and watch this. Usually they break the startup idea into 3 parts. So whenever there's a startup idea, they break it down into 3 parts. There's a problem. So if you don't have a problem that you're trying to solve, most likely there's no point in applying. There should be some kind of a problem that you're trying to solve. And then you come up with a solution for it. And then you have some kind of insight or knowledge about that particular problem that you're trying to solve, which is something that ideally should be a unique insight that you have into that problem. So usually when you're trying to come up with an idea, what I'm trying to explain is how you think whether your idea is an interesting idea which might get funded or which might attract the attention of the investors. So when it comes to a problem, they talk about the attributes of a good problem. So when you want to deal with a problem, or when you are trying to pick a problem that you're going to solve as part of your startup, when you're going to apply as part of the application, you will have to describe what's the problem you're trying to solve. So how would you know, like now, let's say you came up with a brainstorming and then you have 10 ideas, and in order to choose what's that idea that you want to solve as part of YGC, These are some parameters that you can use to pick what's the better idea to solve. The first one is usually if a problem is popular, that means that there's interest or there is potential and a lot of people are trying to solve it. That means that might be a good problem to solve. For example, climate change. Currently, there's a lot of areas under climate change which are very popular at this point of time. So it might mean that that's a good problem to solve. This is just a test, doesn't mean it's a rule, but popular problems usually are good problems to solve, and you might be able to attract investors and so forth to it. The other one is if there is a problem which is a growing problem. Now, for example, pollution and stuff is a growing problem. So it keeps growing year after year. And if there is a problem which is growing, so for example, the need for education, like for example, in the COVID-19 situation, the need for online education, it is becoming a even an accelerated growing problem. So given that context, it might be a good problem to solve. If you have a problem where you see the problem growing or the impact of the problem growing, that might be a good problem to go and solve. The third kind of problems which are good to solve are urgent problems. There are problems which are very urgent that need to be solved as soon as possible. So if there are urgent problems out there, and if your problem is also an urgent problem that is critical for people, that might be a good problem to solve. And then if you have a problem which is very expensive, if you have a problem which is in the current context very expensive, that might be a good problem to solve because you can make larger margins if you have a smart solution to it. So usually what they say is if it is like already something which is very cheap, trying to solve that might not be really helpful because there aren't enough margins to be made on it. But if there is something out there which is expensive, and if you can solve that, it might be again a good problem to solve. The third one is whether it is a problem which is mandatory. So if there is something that is mandatory for people and it is not like an option, they have to go through that, that also is an indicator that it is a good problem to solve. The final one is if it is a problem that frequently impacts people, like if they're going to use it hourly or if they're going to use it daily, if they're going to use it, like are they going to use it monthly or they're going to use it yearly. So if it is a problem that people are going to use it hourly, that's an interesting problem to solve. For example, Facebook is a product where people use it very frequently. So it is an interesting problem. Like, for example, the other one is Slack. So for teams to communicate with them, use Slack almost like frequently. So if you are solving a problem which will get used frequently, it is an interesting problem to solve. So these are some of the tests. Doesn't mean that a problem should satisfy all these criteria, but even if it is satisfying one or two of these criteria, that might mean that it's an interesting problem which might become which is something worthy to try to solve and also attract investment to it. So these are some good attributes. These are some attributes of a good problem. And similarly, solution. So the only instruction here is don't start here. So what that means is a lot of people, especially who come from an engineering development background, we sometimes find a piece of technology and then try to find a problem to solve with that piece of technology. For example, we are in love with AI or machine learning or let's say with blockchain. And what we want to do is we want to find a problem to solve that's usually considered a bad approach. The reason being you're trying to enforce a technology or a solution into a problem. The thing is, it might work, but the probability of not working is also high because you're not looking at the user experience, you're not looking at the needs, you're not looking at the problem somebody has. So if you forget everything that been is said on this presentation, if you want to remember one thing, remember, please don't start with the solution. It can be virtual reality, it can be augmented reality, it can be blockchain, it can be AI, machine learning. All of these are things that you would like use if you find a problem where it's an appropriate solution. So don't start thinking, okay, I want to do a blockchain project or blockchain related thing for YGC. Wouldn't work like that usually, but in some circumstances you can prove us wrong by doing this. But like the usual best practice is not to start here, because then you won't have an open mind, because sometimes you might discover to solve the same problem you might not need this like a machine learning or AI. Simple statistics might make it work, and you've missed the bus because you've not done it smart, and you've tried to use um, um, uh, uh, a tool which is an overhead to solve a very simple problem which could have been solved in a simpler way using a simpler piece of technology. So don't start with the solution. So that's an important thing that I wish all of you remember, because we've had instances where teams had come up, were trying to enforce a solution or bring a solution which is trying to find a problem, and they usually fail because they can't explain the use cases nor apply it to a proper problem. And the third thing, this is something which is interesting because this can make a huge difference. So, for example, let's say you're into sports and you are an expert. Like let's say you're a good cricketer. There might be an insight that you have about a particular problem that a sports person has, and then since you have knowledge of technology, you're connecting both that together and coming up with a solution. You might have a unique insight because of that particular intersection of sport plus the technology piece. In that case, you will be able to say that there is a part in this problem which I understand, but others who are practicing don't understand it. If you have an insight like that, which is very unique and which is a very different perspective from what others are not seeing, this might give you an unfair advantage. This might be because of your expertise, because of your research area, or because of your own passion for a specific area. So if you can find an insight which usually other people are not understanding, it can be about travel. Now, for example, before Airbnb, people used to go and stay at hotels, but like Airbnb founders kind of felt that home accommodation might fly. Uh, yes, they had some precedence to it, but they strongly believe that it is an insight where they found that, okay, if we facilitate home accommodation providers, it would fly. So that's an insight that they have, and they went on that insight and made it happen. So likewise, you might have an insight into a problem, and then you want to see how you can apply like use that as an unfair advantage competing with people. So try to see what's that insight you have. So if you can answer this question for your startup, what is that one thing you understand about this problem which others don't get it? And if you can give like a very good answer to this problem, most likely you are working on a great problem, and a problem that you understand better than most of the other people. So this is where, if you pick an idea which is very close to your heart, and or a problem that you have a lot of expertise, you will be able to give a better answer to this insight. And this can be a huge differentiator when you want to execute your startup. So that's on the inside. So coming to the YGC's track record. So as of now, this year we'll be running YGC for the 9th year. And as of now, we have 25 plus startups run by alumni of YGC Challenge, and they employ more than 200 plus people. And one of the beautiful things that happens with YGC is we are a community who run this program, and we built a strong global network of investors, mentors, and community who comes together, supports each other, creates a safe environment where you can come up with ideas, explore ideas, and get the encouragement, support, mentorship, and investments to make your dreams come true. So that's something that we've been doing over and over again over a long period of time. And this year as well, we will continue despite the challenges that's happening with the current situation. We've converted most of our programs online. which again is going to be a blessing in disguise, is what we feel, because we've got this opportunity to bring in a lot of global high net worth individuals and others whom we will start announcing down the line to become part of the panel, and also to evaluate the ideas and see how they could invest or support or mentor some of you all during the program. So I think it's going to be a blessing in disguise, and it's going to be an exciting opportunity for us to have even a bigger exposure to each one of you who's trying to build your own business around it. And we also have a strong sponsor and partner network. We wish we could have shared that. We are still waiting for some confirmations from some of our partners and sponsors. But like in previous years, we have a lot of partners, which includes top corporates locally and from foreign, top foundations, and the likes of angel networks like the Lankan Angel Network, GIZ, Lebara Foundation, Serendip Foundation, and so forth, all coming on board again this year to support us and make things happen. So we will have these announcements coming out on our YAL IT Hub's Facebook page, and if you follow that, you will know the updates around who and who's going to be part of the partner network this time for YGC. And with that, I'll hand it over to Abarna to kind of walk you through the application process and also the what's next as part of applying for YGC. So Abarna, if you can take over from here.
Thank you, Sainana. Good morning to everyone. So let me take you through what's next with the application. So already you might have seen the post on our Facebook page, which is the official Facebook page of YAL IT Hub, where we have posted the link for the prospectus and the application form. So even if you have missed to see that, if you visit yalithub.org/YGC, so then there you can find the application. Sandana, would you mind me sharing the screen? Thank you. So if you visit the YAL IT Hub official webpage, you will see the application to the YAL Geek Challenge Senior. So you have the prospectus here. We have given all the details about the competition, as in how many teams there, how many members there should be in a team, and what is the format, and all the detailed guidelines about the competition. So this is an introduction to the competition itself. And then you have the application form here. So if you go through this apply now, you will be taken to the Google form where you can register your team. So when you're applying, you need to notice one thing. So there are some questions that have been asked in the prospectus. So you have to ensure that you fill all these questions. So initially you give your team details, and then you have to give the details about your product. So basically, like, what is your startup or product going to do? So what is the product that you are going to bring to YGC? Then you have to talk about what is new about the product that you are going to do or you are going to bring. Then you have to talk about the target users. Who are you going to sell this product to, or who are your target market, right? Who will be your customers? And then you have to talk about your competitors. Who are your competitors and how do you differ from them? Just listing down the competitors is not enough. You have to say what is unique that you have, or rather what is something different that you have from them. What differentiates your product, right? And then you have to say how will you generate money? How will you make money to run your business or to sustain this product? And then you have to specify what are the tools that you will be using to build this product. Different technology stack you can mention here. And then you can also say that whether you have already started building this product or not. So if you have already started building the product, you can say at what stage are you, at the customer validation, or whether you have built a prototype, So you can mention all that here. And if you have all like this is like if you have already registered your company, if you are a startup or a business, and if you have already registered your company, you can mention that here. And then the interesting part is like where you tell why we should select you as a participant for your Geek Challenge Season 9. So there you can tell us why we should select you for this competition. And then final question would be whether after the competition, whether you would like to take this as a startup and continue, because one of the motive of Yargeek Challenge or objective of Yargeek Challenge is to promote entrepreneurship. So whether you would like to continue even after the competition working on this product and putting up your own startup. So please make sure to answer all these 10 questions and then submit your application. So in the application form, you will have a PDF upload facility to upload a PDF. So answer this question and upload it. So the deadline is on the 1st of September. So you need to form the team and fill this form and upload it on or before 1st of September. So that is the first milestone that you will be having. So once you have submitted, so we'll review, and we may not have any filters by then, but we'll see whether your applications are in order. And those who, all of those who have applied properly will be invited for a boot camp weekend. So during this boot camp weekend, we will have a couple of webinars running. Basically, one will be on business model canvas, where we introduce you all to this business model canvas and give some guidelines on how to prepare that. And then we'll have another webinar on financial modeling. When you run your company or when you put up your startup, how to manage your finances and how to prepare the financial modeling. Models will be taught, introduced there. And then we will also have a webinar on how to prepare your pitch deck. So when you're going to present your product, how what are the components or what are the aspects that should be there in the pitch deck or the presentation will be introduced there. So 5th and 6th, we will be having these 3 webinars, 5th and 6th of September. And then you will have to submit your initial drafts of business model canvas, pitch deck, and the financial model on the 18th of September. So once you have done these submissions on the 18th of September, then the team of the YGC team will review these submissions, and then we will select, do the initial filtration, and then we will open up the selected teams will be getting an international business mentoring. So we will have it on the 3rd and 4th of October, where each team will be given a dedicated member, and you will have a 15 minutes to half an hour session with an expert in the industry, where they will look at your business models and problems and customer variation, all what you have worked so far by then, and give you all reviews and feedbacks. After that, we'll have the qualifier, that is the initial round of Yargeek Challenge Senior Season 9 on the 17th and 18th of October. From these qualifiers, specified numbers, roughly 8 to 10 teams will be selected for the grand finale, which will happen on the 31st and 1st of November. So this is the plan for YGC Season 9 Senior. So the initial deadline that you need to worry about now is the 1st of September. So generally we don't have any extensions for these deadlines, and we don't accept any submissions after the deadlines. So it will be good if you all can remember these dates and make sure to do the submissions on time. And if you have any questions, you can always write to event@yalithub.org. Our team will respond to that. And you can also get in touch through the Facebook page or any other social media platforms that we have. So the team will definitely get in touch and help you. Any questions? Yeah, so that's all about the competition format, like the format and what is expected down the line. Any questions?
Yeah, Abanaka.
Yeah, Kapil.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
In this time, you are conducting in this competition in virtual or physically?
Online, virtual. So you would have okay, so that is one thing I missed to mention. So all these activities will be online. So from boot camp, it's going to be webinar. International business mentoring, it's going to be happening online. Qualifiers will also be happening online, and the grand finale too. So all the activities this time we are going online.
Okay, thank you.
வணக்கம்.
Any
வேற
other
ஏதாவது
questions?
கேள்விகள் அப்படி இல்லாட்டி நாங்க விளங்கப்படுத்தின ஏதாவது ஒன்று தமிழ்ல திருப்பி விளங்கப்படுத்தணுமாட்டா சொல்லுங்க, விளங்கப்படுத்தலாம், பிரச்சனை இல்லை.
ஒரு டீம்ல குறைஞ்சது எத்தனை பேர் இருக்கலாம்? ஒரு ஆளா இல்ல ஒரு ஆளுக்கு மேலேயா இல்ல மேக்ஸிமம் 5 குறைஞ்சது?
ஒரு ஆள் தனியா அப்ளை பண்ணலாம், பிரச்சனை இல்லை.
Thank you.
So the question is, what's the minimum for a team? And we said it's even a one-person team can actually, like one person, like a one-man team could apply for it. All right, seems like there aren't any more questions. So thank you so much for joining today, and wish all the very best in your ideation, and looking forward to see all kinds of innovations coming from YGC9 as well. And we are here to support you all the way to make things happen, and looking forward to see startups coming from all of you and competing and then eventually making it a successful startup. So good luck and stay safe. Thank you.